There
That's
you
awesome.
go.
Today on the Matt and Ann Show, we welcome Daphne Maxwell Reid, who played Ann Viv. She also was in a bunch of other shows, and we're going to talk about that all today.
Excellent.
Daphne, tell us about how you got in that.
I started off modeling. I was discovered by Eileen Ford and worked as a print model for a long time, and then got into commercials. And then Robert Conrad came to town in Chicago, and he was doing a series called The Duke, and I got hired. And that started my television career in the acting world. And he moved on to LA for another show called A Man Called Sloan. And when I got to LA, I said, "Hi, Robert, how are you doing?" And he says, "Oh, I got a role for you in my show." And I was able to get an agent right away and started working. And that was back in the early 70s.
I know that one of your first true lead roles was in Frank Place, which was also with your husband. And you also started another show with him too. How'd you guys meet, and how did it lead to you guys doing a show with each other?
I met him in Chicago. We used to work together modeling. He was married to somebody else, and I was married to somebody else, and he was just somebody else that I worked with. And when I moved to LA, we were both divorced, and we got reintroduced. And he introduced me to his friends, and he was working on WKRP in Cincinnati at the time. So he introduced me there. I did 2 shows of WKRP, and then he moved on to Simon and Simon. And a lot of the writers from KRP were writing for Simon and Simon. So they wrote me a part, and I became his girlfriend on the show. And then we got married in 1982, and he and the man who created WKRP in Cincinnati, Hugh Wilson, wrote Frank's Place, and they wrote a part for me.
That's awesome. One of your most famous roles was as Ann Viv. Were you considered for the role when the show first came on in 1990, or was that something that happened when it needed to be recasted?
I was asked to audition for it in 1990, and I chose not to because I didn't want to do a sitcom with a young rap star. So 3 years later, I had seen the show, and they called and asked if I would come audition for the part. And I auditioned like 200 other women did. And I happened to have the chemistry that they needed. And James Avery and I had a click, and I got hired.
What's your best memories with James? Because everything I've ever heard about him, I heard he was an absolutely great guy.
He was an absolutely great guy. He and his wife and my husband and I used to travel together. All during Fresh Prince, James and I were dancing down the halls together. He was an incredible dancer. We'd sit on the couch while we were rehearsing with all the rest of the kids in the cast, and he would extol us with history and philosophy. And he was brilliant. He read all the time. He was a jazz lover. He was a collector, and he was the best hug that I've had in a long time.
What are your best memories from the show in general? Because some of the best seasons, I think, were when you came on as Ann Viv.
Oh, you're sweet. I kind of melded into that family like I had always been there. They were very warm and welcoming. They knew my work and respected the actress that I was. And it just was a big hug. I was greeted with dozens of red roses, and it was just a lovely, lovely environment to work in. The people were and are still true family to me. They're really, really wonderful people.
I know, I think it was 2 years ago, you guys had the HBO Max reunion. Yeah. You got to meet the original Ann Viv. What was that like? Because I heard you had never met her before that taping.
No, I had never met her. It was like a big hug. I gave her a big hug and said, "Welcome home." I mean, it was a reunion and she started the show. She needed to be there. And I'm glad that whatever differences they had were resolved. And she was quite welcome there.
On now they have Bel Air, which is a spinoff of Fresh Prince. I know you were on episode 9.
Not a spinoff, not a spinoff. It's a reimagining of the story. It's a fish out of water story, and it's the same character names, and it's based on the same fish out of water story of Will coming from Philadelphia to Bel Air. But it has an opportunity, being an hour show, to get deeper into the characters themselves and see a more rounded character. And it's not a comedy. There's some funny moments, but it's a drama, and it's brilliantly cast and beautifully done. And yes, I was on episode 9, but I didn't go in as Aunt Viv. I went in as another character and met Aunt Viv 3.0, because I'm 2.0. And we just, it was an amazing shooting, because I was so impressed with the crew and the writers and creators of the show, as well as the cast. Just cinematically beautifully shot and great storylines. I really was honored to be asked to be on the show.
How did that come about? You starring in episode 9, because I think you're the first one from the original show to appear on the new one.
I was there with the original mother of Will, Brene Watson. We were both from the old show. And Will asked us if we wanted to be a part of the show. And he said, "I've got an idea." And he inserted his idea. They wrote it, and I was happy to accept the offer. It was a wonderful thing to participate in, knowing that people would look at that, and the line that is entered, I'd say you didn't expect to see the likes of us here. I meant it as a double entendre, and it came off that way. It was beautifully done.
Could we be seeing you more in Bel Air season 2, or was that just a one-off?
Oh, I have no idea.
Do you have any future projects you're working on currently?
Always. I've got some movies on BET Plus, one called Trophy Wife coming on April 28th. I just shot an episode of Fox's Fantasy Island. I have a Christmas movie, number 3, coming up that we're getting ready to shoot this summer. Always trying to stay busy, as well as doing all of my other creative work.
Everybody's got to go check that out, and I'll tag everything at the bottom when I post the video so people can go and find it. My last question for you is, what is your best memories from your acting career?
My best memories are the people that I have intersected with as I've been going through this, and knowing that the younger actors are proud of the work that I did and feel like they are standing on my shoulders, which is a wonderful feeling to have launched, I guess, like 1,000 ships. We paved the way for a lot of diversity behind the camera, and it was wonderful to see on Bel Air how diverse the behind the camera scenes were. I'm proud of the integrity that I've maintained throughout this career, and I just love the joy of working on all these projects. It's just an amazing way to live my life.
Well, you're an absolute legend. You brought so much joy to so many people through all the projects you ever done. And I want to thank you for coming on today. It was an absolute honor to get to talk to you.
Thank you. Now be sure to go to my website and check those things out too, because I do a lot of other things besides acting. So
Everybody go check that out.
DaphneMaxwellReid.com.
And I'll go check it out too. Thank you so much,
Great.
Daphne Maxwell Reid, everyone.